G'day everyone, welcome along, welcome back to Pallegney. It's Thursday night here in Oz and we are ready to do some farming. So let's jump in and get the game started. G'day Mark, I see you there. Hope you are having a productive week. If I'm not mistaken, it's voting day for you guys today. Now, let's get rid of those. Let's check on the cows. Where are we? We're in October. We've got 2 contracts on the board. Cows have plenty of food. Voted on Sunday, postal. Too easy. One of the things we picked up that was on sale secondhand was a bigger milk tanker. And so that'll be better. I didn't notice how much milk was in the cow shed there. There's probably a little bit, 2,500 litres. So that'll just help with the increased volume. I noticed on our news this evening they're predicting a landslide, Labor victory, whatever that means. Just means you replace one bunch with another bunch, I'm guessing. But there you go. Now, this is all ready to harvest, so we need to, I can't remember if, let's have a look at the contracts I grabbed. As I recall, yes, 2 corn contracts, and I'm pretty sure I took the harvester to field 28. Oh, that's right, because it gave me a ridiculous tractor for cartage. And there wasn't anything else that particularly leapt off the table. I certainly didn't want to be doing parsnips, red beets. At a pinch, we could do the sugar beet, but I think we'll get enough for our satisfaction doing our own field. So let's jump up to the shop here. Right, I did run him into the field. He's got a little bit of corn in there. We can get that going shortly. In fact, let's go there. So they gave me a really terrific tractor config to do these contracts with. But the only upside was, in fact, I'm almost tempted. I wonder if it'll let me use it. There's a big class sitting over there, which the way that I'm not sure. Oh, that was the other thing. The header on the harvester is one of the folding ones that folds down to the width, but it gave me this massive header trailer. Now, will it let me? Well, let me start it. That's a good sign. I reckon we'll borrow this tractor. And which one do I want to pick up? They do have hitches. I just don't know if we'll be able to pull them when they're full. So I'll mention for anybody that sees the stream on repeat, if you haven't seen it already, FSG's got a pretty interesting stream where he sort of, well, he watches and you watch with them the most recent Giants drop, which has some gameplay clips in it. So if you don't want to watch the video just cold on your own, you can watch FSG's version of it. Remember, the action starts about 10 or 12 minutes in. You don't need to watch the whole thing. I certainly found it interesting. Yeah, let's head on up. Let's open some covers here. What were your thoughts, Mark? Certainly good to see some shots of the new map. Riverview Flats or something along those lines. From memory, the American map they previewed a little bit of. Just got a little bit closer to it to see what was what. We might drive this ourselves for a bit. We're in the crop. This field isn't enormous. Certainly they talked at some length about the graphics changes they've made within the engine, and the first impression of some of that was pretty positive. I tend to agree with FSG's assessment that it was certainly enabled by taking the lower end platforms out of the picture. Then they've got much more they can do. But I can imagine that the addition of, you know, without having any idea at the minute how they've implemented it, the addition of fog alone will give them some options on performance management, depending on how they've done things. And in the hands of some of the creative map makers, I'm sure there'll be all sorts of interesting things possible. And even content creators, for that matter. Welcome along. I see a few other folks have joined us. We have got a couple of contract corn harvests to do for no reason other than they were there and we still need a little bit of cash. We're also got our own sugar beet to harvest, and we have plenty of field work to do on our own fields. Need to get some triticale planted and probably some wheat. Think out if you've got any questions or if you've got any observations you want to make based on the latest gameplay trailer from Giants. Even Mark is lurking in chat there somewhere. If you've got any questions that you want him to ask while he's going, because he's off to FarmCon tomorrow. I'm sure one thing that people will be interested to see over the weekend, given that it was a bit of a spoiler without substance, is what the addition of GPS to the base game means in terms of how's it been implemented, what functions are available. But a welcome addition, no doubt. And possibly one mod we won't need on PC going forward. I can also imagine that it will necessitate significant rewrites to things like Crossplay, potentially as well. Let's see here. Get you emptied out. I did expect it to be fairly quiet this morning because I knew Mark was at work before heading off, and a bunch of folks have got plans, election in the UK that might be affecting some summer holidays for people, school holidays in most states in Australia. Right, I'm going to leave you there on the road. This field won't take particularly long. It's just an unbridled cash grab on our part. We should put the time up, of course. 0.5 was a bit slow. It'll get a bit better light as well. No problem, Mark. I was just chattering away. I did wonder if you... And I figured that was the case and that you would be busy. I did wonder if you had any first impressions from the clip of... or the podcast, I guess you'd call it, from Giants. Who knew someone could speak for 10 minutes about implementing a fog effect before they actually showed it to you? It's good. They seem pretty excited about what they've done, so that's always a good start. The fact that they can demo something is another good start. I too didn't mind the first look at the HUD, although I'm probably still a fan of the analog speedo. Yes, well, it'll be quite interesting to see not only what they've implemented for GPS, you know, what compromises they've had to make or to have a workable interface for console players. But also how much work is involved retrofitting it to current game mods that have GPS implemented. So many questions, some of which you might get the answer to. I'll be intrigued to see whether they've I saw they had a bit. I'm sure, you know, time will be hotly contested, and I'll be quite intrigued to see whether they put you on PCs or consoles in terms of what they make available. Yeah, that was my thought exactly. It's a lot easier to control consoles. I know if I was starting from scratch to think about how to run an event like that, I'd be looking for consoles, provided the code's stable enough. A lot less scope for people to be naughty. Whoops. Still go. I'll be quite interested. I noticed in the schedule that they've announced the sessions on the editor changes and scripting and making it easier for modders are pretty short, and so I'd be quite intrigued to see how much content you get. Are there sessions? Because I only saw the couple of sort of, or an hour and a half's worth on Sunday morning. I didn't see anything beyond that, so. It struck me that that was kind of light. Right. Yeah, well, I just absolutely it's better than nothing, but when you look at how they you know, their practice run, which was their little podcast, this, you know, they spent 10 minutes telling you what they were going to tell you, 5 minutes showing you, and 10 minutes reminding you of what they just told you. And if they do that in that 1.5 hours, you won't get much content. Oh, stop at the intersection, champ. Now, which lands am I going to here? I'm guessing they're presenting in German for a lot of those sessions as well, so you probably need a good translator. What am I doing? 28. We're going to Vosges, which is just over there, if I'm not mistaken. Is that Vosges? Silo, whoops, round the corner. That one is Vosges. Cool. Oh, seriously? Would you get... Change tractors. Come on, reset the traffic. I can't tab to that tractor. That's very annoying. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, I've been having an interesting time in over the last couple of days, getting a little bit better familiarized with Farms in Briscoe's coming soon Oaks, and I must say it has captured my imagination in a good way. So g'day John, hope you are doing well today. That I've been able to put a bit of meat on the bones of the streaming experience that we will have when FSB confirms that he's finished building the map. There's certainly enough there for me to figure a lot out. Excellent. Good to hear. The bizarre is the right word, you know, because I mean, doing a series on there, just like you guys playing on it for a long period of time, you get quite invested in your little part of the world and the story that, or I get quite invested anyway in the story that I'm telling. And so whilst it's broadly similar, it's changed so much. I think there's scope for both versions. And some of the things that he's done in this one really, I mean, there was nothing wrong with the first version of the map. It was an outstanding first attempt, but this has some really wonderful things. The edge makes such a big difference when you're driving around. I got well and truly lost trying to find my way between farms. Because without giving too much away, the whilst the name of the map may be vintage, the Pallegney family are a sort of 10 or 15 years on, and so they have developed their operation on the trajectory they were on before, with a couple of wrinkles. Send him a message to say one of the things that really stands out is that you've got the really tight feel of lanes without the constraints. Oh, well, when I say without, because some of them are quite constrained. But if you want to play big equipment, because some of the fields, you know, that's just going to be plain the right thing to do, you can get the equipment to the fields. It might require some thought as to the route that you take, but you can get it there. You can get it on the fields. And he's achieved that very cleverly with a very natural feel to it. It's not flat by any stretch, but nor is it ridiculously hilly. It's just, you know, the wild areas feel wild. You know, if you want to have it'll be a great map for multiplayer. If you want to have a production focus, then there's, you know, there's a couple of productions there already, but equally there's plenty of spaces which lend themselves to setting up with whatever production takes your fancy. Train works a treat. And if you do make some changes, you got, you know, more than 20 of the textures that he's used, some of which he's made himself, in the painting palette, so you can make everything look pretty much the same as the rest of the map. It's very cool. Much scope for many hours. Just need him to finish it now. No pressure, FSB. Welcome along. If you've just joined, we're just doing a couple of corn contracts because we can, because it's that time of year. We have sugar beet on our own field to get in and a bunch of field work to be going on with. Good to know, John. May you make the difference. The heater must have kicked off here. I can feel a chill. Been a bit brisk by Melbourne standards the last few days. Getting down to or just below 0 overnight, which I don't recall it doing all that often since I was a kid. Mind you, that's not a patch on Tassie, which at a minus 13 or 14 in their central region. And that's cold by anybody's standards. Had to laugh on the news. They'd been out and found a French backpacker who'd arrived without any winter clothing because someone told him it was hot in Australia. Well, you say that, John, it's getting warm, and I think you've got a warm day tomorrow, but then I looked at the forecast Silverstone for the weekend, and it's going to be a pretty similar temperature range to Melbourne. I think you're going to go sort of 9 to 17 and 10 to 17 or something like that, which is not an awful lot different to here on a normal July day. Oh wow. I guess all that glass and sunshine will do that. Let's just back you around there. Round you go. Quite civilized, these trailers in tandem without a dolly. Oh, wow. No, it's human nature. We're never happy. It's too hot in the summer, too cold in the winter. Just as well as plenty of sport on. TV's getting a good workout. Yep, it's empty. Good-o. I'll watch that Tour de France highlights in the morning while I have breakfast. They do a good wrap-up package of the previous day's stage, sort of condense it, the best bits into an hour. So I quite enjoy watching that. And then occasionally, if it's a good mountain stage and it captures my attention before I go to bed at night, I will stay up and watch, which can lead to some longish nights. Wimbledon's on if you're into the tennis. F1 at the weekend. And Olympics in a month. Or thereabouts. Spoilt. Yes, well, oh yeah, sorry, I should have mentioned Euros. I don't follow what we know of here as the soccer, particularly European football. Although that said, I watched probably more of it than I have in my life when the Women's World Cup was on, because I found the women's top level to be very entertaining. The conclusion I reached was that relative to their average size, because they're playing on a standard pitch, there's just a little bit more scoring, and it's just a little bit easier for them. Well, there's more space to sneak the ball by, and it makes made for some really entertaining matches. But that's just my uninformed view. Yeah, the Aussie teams really captured, the Matildas have really captured the imagination, and they've been very well marketed. So, you know, when they've played the big stadiums here in Australia recently, they're selling them out, which has done wonders for grassroots soccer, particularly amongst young girls. And most Aussie kids don't need to be asked twice to get involved in sport, so. Right. Now the other field we're actually working on is just over there, so I might trundle up there before any cars come to make it difficult. What we'll do here, let's turn that on. 12.2 meters. Let's give you plenty of room because there are a couple of fences. Start on the headlands. Let's go with smooth corners. 5 4s. Up and down, generate the course like that. Start. Excellent. Exactly. Exactly, John. Where am I going? Out here. Right. Well, that makes sense. They've been doing that with Australian rules football here, and to a slightly lesser extent rugby league. So most of the big AFL teams have a women's team. The women's league's coming along. It's fairly well supported. It's certainly been popular amongst young women. Stop. We should stop at the corner. If you're wondering, that big John Deere in the car park there is what they gave me for the cartage on the contract, and it made life very difficult. Well, it would have made life very difficult because it's got jewels all around. In fact, I'm not sure it would even have got into the tip point here. Would have been close. No, maybe not. It might. Maybe we need to go and do a test just to see. I reckon it'd struggle, actually. How cute. Where are we? There's no point in us keeping any of this corn, so we won't worry about that. It didn't take long for the harvester to get blocked. That is true. But aren't you supposed to give way to vehicles that are already in the roundabout? Even in France, they sort of observe that. As long as you understand that he who hesitates is dead. Yep, same sell point for field 29, so we might as well go back there. I'm quite confident you won't get that tractor in that unload point. Yeah, I didn't, I had more, I've certainly driven more in France than I have in Italy, so my Italian driving was pretty much confined to Tuscany, and I didn't have too many challenging experiences there. It's like anything, you got to keep your wits about you all the time anyway, so especially when you're driving in a country that's unfamiliar. How did you get stuck there? You just went too close to the corner. Oh, good job. Get bogged on a... There we go. Just misjudged the outer radius of your... of your arm, I'd reckon. Okay, let's go to nearest waypoint will do. There's a chance you'll do exactly the same thing up here, although it's a more gradual turn. We'll follow you around because in a minute you'll get full and want to drop a load off. Did anyone else that's in chat have a chance to see that teaser gameplay video It dropped in the last 24 to 36 hours? If so, what did you think? What stood out for you? Oh, we can probably finish the contract on field 28 now, can't we? $28 is done. Now, you're going to let me, before you cut in, let's see. I get up here and get some of that out before you get to the corner. Possibly. I might wait here for him. Let's jump across to the shop because we need to... I have. I leased the header for the beet harvester, but not the harvester itself by the looks. Let's lease that. And where are you? Ah, that's where. Oh, that's how I did it. Let's take the whoops. Take the our new purchase was a second-hand milk tanker. Don't feel sorry for PS4. They've had a damn good run. And a lot of big software companies would have. What I want to do is go and get that other harvester. A lot of software companies would have orphaned the PS4 base long before this so that they could bring some of those functions, particularly the look, the graphical capabilities to their thing, because they, you know, in the PS5 and the, whichever, I lose track of which Xbox is which, but have had a lot more graphics capability than FS has been using for the whole of FS22's life. So as with anything, it'll be what people choose to do with it. I'm sure in the hands of some of the mod makers it'll be fabulous. I'm sure there's a lot more to see around the rice production. It's hard work to maintain backward compatibility. It's quite an expensive model. I think what I'm going to do I had tended to have both platforms while the kids were younger, because there's certainly, we went through a stage there where there were some games that were fun to play, particularly with a growing family, where they were just flat out more fun on the PlayStation, and and you could have two of you, and so we went PS3, PS4, and I think my son now has PS5, although he's long past his teen years. Let's leave that there for the minute. Now, what tractor are we going to put on that? How many ergs do you need to drive that? It's only 85 horses. Okay, so we can use the yard tractor to run around. And getting these beets off will enable us to attack the oops, we should take those off, but never mind. I think I've got a front PTO on here. I do. There we go. What was I saying? Completely lost my train of thought. No Biden jokes. I think I mentioned the other night in the stream that discovered a curious thing when I was doing the parsnips last week. There were a couple of occasions where I went to refill, or I refilled the boxes on the harvester I was using. And it didn't put 4 on, it only put 3, which was most bizarre. And that created some little odd side effects when you put some crop into the some of them, and they would be stuck in the wrong position. So basically the fourth box didn't appear, and so the crop would tip on the ground, which meant it just disappeared, but you never noticed because from like this position here you could see the forward 3 boxes, but they weren't getting any content. It was really weird. It happened twice. So there are definitely some wrinkles still with that premium stuff. And unfortunately everyone's attention has gone to the brave new world. Yes, well I think rice lends itself to a whole bunch of things, so it's a good addition as a crop. They did appear to confirm that you'll be able to harvest it with a regular header as well as the specialized machinery, so that'll introduce a range of gameplay options. Is this actually destroying my... It is, you know. Just hang on. Crop destruction, turn it off. I didn't think it did. It's not anymore. I was under the impression that it, if you topped it, that you didn't destroy the crop. But unless that's changed, anyway, I'm not destroying it now. At least I noticed before I did half the field. All that serves to illustrate is how few times I've done sugar beet, and of course the sugar beet we did on the oaks back with the Pallegneys, we had the big machines. It won't be it. It was a headland and a half, so not the end of the world. It's kind of odd that wide tires cause crop destruction for beets, but narrows don't. Because I would have thought spreading the mass over a wider area would cause less damage to a root crop than not. But hey, let's not let physics get in the way of a good story. Our corn harvester is ready for unloading. What I could probably do is get back around to the start. Let's see here. So let's see what sort of course you. Whoops. Temporary course. That's the field. Start work on the headland. Sharp corners. Work with 2.9. Let's do 4 headlands. Generate the course. That's still on a headland. Cool. Sort of. Yeah, we'll let you worry about it. Okay, you're ready to go. Where did I leave the... Back down there. Grundle down the road. I must say, with the announcement stuff, I do watch with half an eye on the entertainment value of the people that invest an inordinate amount of effort in being angry and annoyed about stuff that they just don't know yet. It's kind of like, oh wow. You know, you're getting the marketing folks teasers, and there's outrage that, you know, ABC is not DEF. It's wow. What a world. G'day, Jason. Welcome along. Well, you're going to be one pleased puppy. Finally get some GPS in the new game. Mark will be able to tell you all about it next week. Stop. I swear he doesn't know where the outer edge of that header is. Can't even drive forward, you numpty. Get out of it. It's heavy. There we go. That was a bit agricultural. Which way is the road? That way. We might be able to top off the rest of our trailer. Exactly. I agree entirely, Jason. Yes, FSG was very excited when he spotted that in the bottom right corner. Crop destruction wouldn't have mattered here. This is a contract field, John. But yes, I normally have it on to eliminate the temptation to do things like that. Come on. Let's go into you. Uggs, you should be comfortably in Europe by now if all these connections worked, I would have thought. Long story short, welcome along. Hola to you too. What part of the world? Long story short, Ola doesn't narrow it down very much. You have a few other watchers in chat, and we're here on Pallegney doing a couple of contracts and also our own sugar beet. Ah, that's no good. We only have English here, I'm sorry, so you'll have to rely on Google Translate if you want to follow. Feel free to enjoy the pictures. My other language skills are largely non-existent. It does also, of course, beg the question as to why you have 3 English words for your handle, but hey, who are we to question? Oh, wrong button. The good news is, Jason, you'll have things to get excited about between now and then to help you plan for the new purchase. Yeah, mate, I'm going to need you to switch to English if you're going to keep chatting, please. Good stuff. We enjoy a good joke. We just all need to be in on it. Bungaloo. Too many M's in Zulu. Feels like every second word starts with M. And two consonants for each one. Not a bad combination. Could do with a couple more ergs in the tractor. So we can get past. A little bit of grain in there, and then we're down. We'll let him go. Let him sort the corner out. I did not. Oops. What is he doing over there? How did you get stuck doing the fourth headland? Seriously, dude, where are you trying to go? All right, short end of the field. How many streams actually say yes to that? Now, what are you trying to do? You're gonna go there. Really? Okay, we'll live with that. With any luck. No, not jealous, just realistic. And truthful. They're good adjectives. I have one. No, not a chance. Pretty much sums it up. I have a very limited moderation model. Because basically the people in here are very well behaved. We do not require more moderation. They, being adults, moderate themselves. Yes, I was trying to explain that to my sister-in-law the other day, who was discussing, whoops, I didn't want to do that. Oh, well, let's just... She was discussing teeth whitening, apparently, and has been shocked to be besieged in her Facebook with all of these dentistry and teeth whitening ads, and she says, like they're listening to me. I said, well, do you leave Facebook open on your phone, and do you take your phone to every conversation you're in? And when it was yes to both questions, it's like, well, so the short answer is yes, they are absolutely listening to you. It's not listening necessarily in the way you might think, just they are processing all of the text, all of the language into text, and then searching off the keywords. Now let's go down here. Let's try that again. Nearest waypoint this time. Wow. Odd interpretation. Never mind. Vaguely get the hang of it. Oops. Let's save that. And then go back up there. Where's the... It's all the way up the top of the field, and I can't jump to it because it doesn't show on the map. It was the downside of using this tractor, but it's doing the job. Oh God, it's gone and got itself blocked again. Not having a good run. Should have done a fifth headland. Really, I missed. I can imagine. I use two companies principally for PCs. Spoilt and PC Case Warehouse. PC case warehouse I would use for quite a while because they were local, but then like everything in COVID, they stopped doing pickup, so you had to go mail order. But both companies I find have reasonable pre-built stuff. They sell all the components so you can build your own gear, but I'm guessing given you guys are remote, you're probably going to be better off buying a all configured and operating, just plug it in and go. And the only thing you got to watch with the current gear is they tend to be a little tight on the case specifications, so they undercool them. And the downside is if you don't have good ventilation, they will get too hot. And particularly good graphics cards, the natural enemy of a good graphics card is the heat. More cooling is always better than not enough. Right, let's go and empty this lot. The good thing about Farm Sim though is you don't need a top of the line specification for it. What I would consider an average gaming PC will do just fine, and I don't see anything in the material release so far for FS25 that's going to change that. The principal reason is because it's got to be able to run on consoles, and even an average PC's got a higher spec processing and graphics capability than a console. Yeah, well, that's why I mentioned the heat, because particularly if you've got no familiarity. So, you know, liquid cooled PCs work well, provided they're installed properly. There's no reason to be afraid of liquid cooled kit. It's most of them are closed loop anyway. And whilst for some people in PC technology it's new, but the mainframes, oops, I was selling back in the 80s were water cooled. So back then it was new. And it's quite bizarre to see PCs cooled in a fashion that's broadly similar to how we did the mainframes back then. Why are you not? There we go. Oh, that's why, because I kept changing hitting the wrong button, changing the way I was doing it. Mod storage, storage is cheap. In the scheme of things. There is almost no good reason I can think of to overclock. If you really think you're going to be pushing the envelope on performance on a PC, go one spec level higher. It'll serve you much better than overclocking. Air cooling still works well, just make sure you've got good airflow to the machine. Overclocking's when you run that. It's in inverted commas. It's a feature of many computer chips that they allow a design frequency and then the ability to, if your system allows it, to run them at a higher frequency for therefore greater throughput. The consequences of which are, at a minimum, more heat. And so some CPUs in particular are capable of varying their clock speed depending on the conditions. Damn, I did it again. It's clear. A solid state disk will have a bigger impact on PC performance than almost anything else you can do, because modern same concept. Lots of people overclock their PC gear because they can, not because it's actually good for it. And in the current environment, depending on what you're doing, there's no real need for it, because you're not, many PCs are not CPU bound, so that means that the processor is not the limiting factor. The most common limiting factor on any sample your PCs you want to look at is the disk performance, because modern operating systems create virtual memory, in effect, trying to keep it straightforward and understandable. And so they just create a really big memory space, which they map out to your disk drive, and then they go and get that stuff when apps want it. Now, obviously, if your disk drive is slow, that ultimately slows the performance of your machine, in simple terms. If your disk drive is fast, it speeds it up. So, to a point, having more main memory, RAM, helps. current configurations, 16 megs for most people is fine. 32 is nice to have and will be a little bit more future-proof, but there's still a lot of apps that can't use it properly. They're the sorts of things I'll be very interesting to see with Farm Sim, because Farm Sim doesn't make very good use of PC resources historically, so having an over-configured machine, certainly with FS22, doesn't help you at all. You get nothing for it. The reason lots of the content creators have bigger configured machines is because editing does. So this machine's 32 meg of RAM. I have 3 solid state drives. The C drive has, actually I have 2 solid state drives, sorry. The C drive has the operating system and the the mods I use most frequently, and my documents directory and those sorts of things. My D drive is a slow drive. That's where I kept all my video stuff. It's where I wrote when I was recording. And then the E drive has the game and all the mod directories. And the E drive is a solid state drive, so that was quick because I didn't want that to be a limiting factor. I wanted to, because I was new to the game, I wanted to make sure that I could run all the mods that I wanted, given I didn't know anything about them. As it's turned out, what chews it up more is collecting maps. But yes, good fans, good case design. So flashing lights are all wonderful, and everybody likes, seems to like neon. I could never understand the attractions of lighting up the inside of your case, but hey, go for it. If heat's a problem, the best place to put your case is actually on your desk, not under it. Cases on carpet don't breathe very well, particularly if the fans are set up to suck air in from the bottom of the case. And when you get your PC, having a quick look to see what that path of the airflow is, and that's what I mean about pre-built machines. Some of them stuff as many components as they can into as small a case as they can. And it's a false economy, because then everything inside the case gets hot, and they'll typically be underdone in terms of fans. You can learn a lot of helpful things about PCs on JZ's site. If you just search for PC JZ, he's got about 2 million followers. A lot of his content, it's a bit ranty, but a lot of it's quite informative. Yeah, this time around I got a bigger case than I thought I needed. I've got the radiator for the cooling system mounted in the top of it with a couple of fans drawing air through it, and then I've got fans at the bottom blowing air through for the graphics card. Come on. It's not liking this hill. And whilst my case is on the floor, it's actually sitting on a couple of blocks of wood to keep it up off the carpet. Mine are a bit noisy. Yeah, just watch out for moisture if you put it too close to an aircon. You don't want it. Condensation's nasty. You'll be right if it's in a room that's air conditioned. 64-bit would be a better choice if you can afford it. PCs are getting bigger, not smaller, and you'll find most of the main things you want to run will be in 64-bit. And don't get confused between 64-bit, which is the what's the easy way, is the specification for the processor, and 32 megabytes, which is the amount of RAM that many might talk about. You certainly don't need 64 meg of RAM in a home PC. I haven't looked recently, Mark, but the risk here sometimes can be we get stuff that gets dumped from the Asian market, and so it's quite possible you could buy from some of these online sites a, in inverted commas, new PC that might be only 32-bit. That's what I want. Next one. You know, part of the problem here is that mail order, you don't necessarily know where it's coming from. There's plenty of sites that make it look like you're buying Australian product, but it's being shipped out of China. No, Windows 10 is certainly possible to be 32-bit. Windows 11, I'm pretty sure you're right, because Windows 11's got hardware dependencies anyway. In fact, I'm almost certain that I've got a 32-bit machine running Windows 10 on my other desk. In fact, I have two Windows 10 because my 14-year-old PC is definitely not the 64-bit, and it's running Windows 10. That was a Dell purchase. That was very good value. Struggles a bit because it's only got 4 meg memory in it, and it takes forever to boot up. I use it to do my internet banking. Oh, I'm knocking out this cornfield. Oh, Reg. Did it again. Away. That's a tough thing to do where he lives, John, because if he has any issues, it could take lots of faffing about to get the pieces and the help that he needs to sort them out. I would strongly recommend just buying a fully configured turnkey. Doesn't have to be a top of the line brand. Just buy something that you can be pretty confident works when they ship it to you. What you say is absolutely correct. You can build them yourselves, but if you've never done it before, there are plenty of pitfalls, and when you're a long way from support, which regional Australia can be, it's a challenge. I know building this machine, given it was the first one that I'd actually built myself in a decade or so, I made 4 visits to the store that I bought the pieces at in the week that I constructed it, because the well, just little things, right? The power supply, when I installed it and hooked it up, melted the cables that came with it, just about set fire to the case. The CPU had a bent pin and wouldn't seat properly on the motherboard. What else? Oh, the fan. I hooked the GPU cooler. Oh, sorry, the CPU cooler up to the radiator. It was a Corsair cooler hooking up to a Corsair power unit, and the first time the fan kicked on, it overpowered one of the fan units and melted the connection to the fan. Like, the cable was under spec for the power it was drawing. I'd never encountered it before. It was bizarre. Yeah, the shop were really good about it. They just replaced all the things, but I still had to go there for 5 days in a row. I was getting kind of tired of it, I must say. Yeah, that's what I figured, Jason. It's like, you just don't need that level of mess, especially not when you're kind of, it's a big thing for you and you're young bloke, and you kind of want it. It's not a project you need to have. There's enough other stuff you want to be doing. And those, you know, the city you're referring to is not a big city in terms of technology, so it's not going to be holding a big parts store either. So they're going to be reliant on shipments from Melbourne or Sydney. What do we got? Do I need to fill it up? Yes, we'll get him up this row, will we? Which way are you going? No, you're going to go up there and just be a pain in the butt. We'll go on empty. Actually, let's go this road. It'll be easier. No point going up the hill. The one exception to building it is if you've got someone, you know, in reasonable proximity, that you know well, that builds them. That can be a good way to go, because then you know you've got someone with skills that can help get it sorted. But basically, if the tech's not really your thing, then you just want it to work when you switch it on so you can play farm sim. Oh God, you found the only light post on the map that has collisions, did you, Chief? There, let's let him go. I'll come and get that bit later. Excuse me. Right, you are. Once we get through the back of this harvest season, we should be able to... Yeah, there you go. If you're interested in that sort of thing, John, it's good fun building your own PC. Oh, God. Remember to turn in the driveway still. What I was about to say is when we get through the back of harvest season here, we'll have a good supply of sugar beet, which we can put through the mill that we're still leasing, and that will provide sugar up to the dessert factory. So we now got a reasonable amount of stock up there, and when we get up to 50 grand, 50 grand, 70 grand, I want to buy the plan is to buy the big, which is where these contracts help a little bit. I want to buy the dairy so that we can make chocolate, because that's the only product that we don't have, but we've been accumulating components. We can turn that off. In the dessert factory, we've now got heaps of strawberries, water's fine, butters come up, flours come up. We've got a few more eggs to move, a little bit of milk. So we get sugar, we can make several of the desserts, and it's just chocolate to get the two that, or the three that we can't hit yet. So we're in good shape there, and that should help us kick the money along. We do have some cakes to sell, which will contribute a little bit, and we're probably... Yeah, exactly, Jason. I understand. So no input materials. Oh, that's the mill. So we don't need to be making anything in that. Oh, we must have a whole bunch of canola oil down there to sell too. When I say a whole bunch, we didn't have a lot of canola to start with, but we got a little bit. So deactivate that. Our windmill still has some sorghum. Let's make flour out of the sorghum, and out of the spelt is coming. Right. Even got a little bit of triticale left there. Oh, what am I trying to do here? Let's try that. Okay. The other thing I've had good success with is I've got a, it's probably plugged into something. I've got a hard case that you can take an old disk drive. So where's the camera? There. That's an old 3.5-inch hard disk. I've got a case. Oh, there is one there. Like so. Where are we? No, there we go. There's lag. And so that just has a sliding top on it that you plug the disk drive into, and a USB cable out, and its own power supply, just a really easy one, and you can plug that into a USB-C, and it's a really easy external drive. So there's all sorts of those little gadgets. Yeah, the sites I mentioned earlier, in effect, do something. Well, they both have a service like that, and I have bought their PCs along those sort of lines. But when I say there's no buts, my recommendation would be you don't need to get that pedantic. They carry enough configurations that you can just pick one of their popular ones and just go with that, and it'll be good enough. Yeah, what I discovered once I started the YouTube channel is that YouTube videos take up a shitload of disk space. That's a technical term for lots. And so I very quickly exhausted my previously thought out plans, and so the ability to recycle a whole bunch of crappy discs that I'd just been hanging on to proved useful, until I reached the point when I thought, realistically, am I ever going to look at some of these episodes again if YouTube loses them? And I decided the answer was no. I also have one of those cases that you can put DVDs and CDs in, which comes in handy occasionally. There you go. How much more we need to deliver. Let's have a look. Let's just see the sales before we have a look at that. Milk. Oh, good price. No, it is a good price for milk. Yeah, that makes sense. Have a look at PC Case Gear or Sculptech. They're the two sites that I would trust you to send good quality, or trust to send you good quality stuff, and just see if there's anything there. They've got a big range, and you might find something on there that suits. What are we looking at here? So milk needs to go up. That's fine. Cake. It's a good price for cake, and we've got some. But also cheese. Good to know. Okay. So I've got a few things to sell. There's plenty of poo. Not much in the sorbets. Where is he? Come on. Back towards us down the hill there. Tell you what, that topper driver is not very creative on his object avoidance. I've had generally pretty good experience with the latest version of Crossplay. It's in certain situations quite creative getting itself out of places where it's blocked. So it's definitely improved in my view. Okay, I think we're coming. We'll fill this load up. That one's must be just about full. It is. And then with any luck, that'll create enough space that it'll be able to take that land and I'm rolling down the hill faster. Hoping we'll leave enough room in the harvester for it to finish getting the crop off. Meanwhile, we'll go on. Oh, come on. Only just touch the accelerator. Yes, I could use cruise control, but I don't use it in a real vehicle, so it's hard to get in the habit of using it here. Exactly, John. And if you buy from a reputable crowd, you're usually fine in that regard. That's where often a good plan is to put a whatever SSD you can afford in for your C drive, and then just put a big multi-terabyte D drive in, and that'll keep most people comfortable. Playing average games, it takes a long while to fill up 2 terabytes. Although I did notice when he put the borders on the new version of the Oaks is up over a gigabyte download now, which is not a bad achievement. It gives you an idea of the detail that he's got on the map, because it's not pulling a lot of extra mods. He's got no required mods. He's put all the buildings in himself. Oh, 2 terabytes still takes a while to fill, even with FS. 4 would always be better, but oops, what am I doing? Now I've gone and done it. Okay, it's a sign. We might leave it there tonight, folks. Thank you everybody very much for watching. It's much appreciated. Hope you've had a good evening, and hope you enjoy your coming weekend. Mark's off to FarmCon, so we look forward hopefully to catching him at some stage in the next week or two and getting a bit of a debrief. Until next time, stay safe. Thanks everyone. See ya.